I would say the 3DS is probably my favorite console of all time. Unfortunately, prices have been going up over the last couple years, so it's probably not the best time to get into collecting for it. But I took the plunge probably 3 or 4 years ago and I started picking up a lot of titles that I was missing. First thing I want to start off with is the console itself. So the only console I currently have is the new 3DS XL, the red one. Unfortunately, it's seen some better days, got some paint rubbing off on the sides, but still in okay condition. Love this thing. Probably my favorite model. The only other one I've ever owned was the original 3DS, the aqua blue one, but I sold that a couple years ago, unfortunately. I kind of wish I didn't, because I really do want to get a capture card, a mod for a 3DS, and I just wish I had an old 3DS lying around that I could send in to do that. So now we're going to get into the games. The first game I got is Cave Story 3D with the slipcover. I remember when this was even more expensive. I think it's gone down. I think it's maybe like an $80 game right now, I want to say off the top of my head with the slip. I remember when this was even more. You can see it's a little damaged right there. I remember finding this at a GameStop, I think back when it was more expensive, for only like $20, $25. So I was really happy about that. This is an okay version of the game. I've only ever played this one and then Plus on the Switch. And I would say that Plus is definitely the better version. This is a cool thing to have, especially with that slipcover. And it's not a bad version. It's just pretty much every other version is probably going to be better than this. But if you're a 3DS fan and you like Cave Story, this is definitely a cool thing to have. Next up is Animal Crossing New Leaf. This is the Nintendo Selects, which is the Welcome Amiibo edition. This is the only way to physically get the game with the Welcome Amiibo update already installed, which is pretty cool. I do have 2 copies of this because I think it was like $10 new like a year or 2 ago on clearance on I think Walmart's website. So I picked up 2 copies because I actually don't own this game physically. I only ever got it digitally as a Club Nintendo reward. A pretty good game. I didn't really play it in its heyday because I did get it a little late. I don't think I got it till like 2015, I want to say. But yeah, very good game. Great Animal Crossing game. And I might open this one up and start a new save or something. As I said, I have 2 copies, so maybe I'll keep one. I'll sell one. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do, but great game. Next up is Chibi Robo Ziplash. This is actually a recent pickup that I got from Double Jump Video Games. Their channel I've been really enjoying. I remember watching Sick Cooper back in the day, and then for whatever reason, I kind of stopped watching them for a little bit. And then I recently found out maybe a few months ago about all of his store vlogs, and they've been really entertaining. I love the crew there. But this is probably not a great game. I've actually never played it, but even though it is open, the game is sealed and so is the amiibo. I always wanted the amiibo, and with 3DS games going up in price, you never know what might go up in price. So we'll see if I ever end up playing it. I might buy an unsealed copy. I might open this one, but the amiibo, I might just keep sealed. But yeah, huge Chibi Robo fan. And maybe one day I'll just have to play this game. Next up is another pickup, a very cheap pickup at that. Codename Steam. Have not had a chance to play this yet. I haven't heard great things, but it always looked interesting, and it is a Nintendo published game that you can get for like $5. So why not pick it up, give it a try. It always seemed kind of interesting, just not enough to justify that full price tag. Next up, we got Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D. This is actually the way I first beat the game. I've never beaten the Wii version. This is a pretty good version of it. I mean, the frame rate's probably a little lower than the Wii version, but you don't have to do it with the motion controls, and it's portable. So with how much I love my portable gaming, this probably would be my preferred way to play it. Pretty solid game. I prefer like Donkey Kong Country 2 and Tropical Freeze over this, and maybe even the original Donkey Kong Country. I've never played 3, but it still is a great game. Solid platformer. Just not one of my favorites. This next one I remember buying a couple of years ago, sealed I think on eBay for maybe like $25 or $25, $30. This one has gone up in price. I'm sure sealed it's even more, but Dragon Quest VII, Fragments of Forgotten Past. So this is the way I first played this game as well. 100 hours. And I do not like this game very much. It's easily my least favorite of the mainline Dragon Quest games I've played. It's just way too long, it's way too tedious. I think the concepts are really cool, like going between the present and past of those islands, and just all the different little sub-stories that having, instead of just focusing on like one overarching story, it focuses on these smaller stories. So I think it's, in concept, it's really cool. It's just way too long, and games like this made me realize that just because a game is long doesn't necessarily mean it's worth the money. I much prefer shorter games at this point, especially because I don't have as much time to play these long RPGs. But this is still a cool one to have. I really do want to go back and get the Dragon Quest ports, or I guess the Dragon Quest remakes rather, for the DS 4, 5, and 6. Those have also gone up in price quite a bit, unfortunately. But yeah, definitely cool to have. Love Dragon Quest, but not a big fan of this one. This next one, on the other hand, I am a big fan of. I never played the PS2 version, so this is the first time I played this one as well. And this is great. This is probably my favorite Dragon Quest game. The only ones I've played are 7, 8, 9, and 11. Oh, I've also played 5 as well. I forgot I did play 5 on DS. I just don't own it. So I played those ones. This is probably my favorite. Pretty close. So I'd say this one's probably my favorite in terms of story. Dragon Quest 11 is my favorite in terms of gameplay. Dragon Quest 9 is nostalgic, and I like a lot of its mechanics that it has, like how you can really customize your character and stuff like that. But this probably is my favorite one. I think I beat this game in like 3 weeks over the summer I got it, which I think was a couple of years ago. Yeah, great Dragon Quest game, great version of it. I want to play the PS2 version. I actually recently got a copy of it. But yeah, great game. Probably one of my favorite games of all time. Next one is a recent pickup that I got for a pretty decent deal. One of the very late 3DS games, that is Ever Oasis. Have not had a chance to check this out yet. Always looked kind of interesting. I have a feeling all these like late 2017, 2018. I don't know if there are any 3DS games in 2019. I think there might have been. But all these late titles, I have a feeling, are just going to either remain in value or grow up. Because not a lot of people were buying 3DS games at the time that Switch was out. Because everyone was just focused on that. But this one always looked interesting. I believe this is 𝗟𝗜𝗡𝗏 developed, who did the Zelda remakes, like Link's Awakening remake, I want to say. But always looked interesting. Pretty cute art style. Definitely want to give this one a try. I might actually be playing this one soon, because I don't think it's too long, and I've been looking for something kind of like this to play. So next game is getting a sequel soon, and that is Fantasy Life. This one I wanted to get more into. I don't think I put more than like 5-10 hours into it, unfortunately. It's definitely one I want to give another go. I didn't dislike, I just don't think it was what I wanted to play at the time. This one's cool. I think this one's also, as with a lot of 3DS games, getting more expensive. I love the box art here. I just love the 3DS cases in general with the little logo there. It does the white spine, right? It's like the Switch games are all just red spines, but then the 3DS ones actually have the unique logo and the little icon and stuff like that. Cool game. Recommend it if you look up gameplay and you're interested in it, but I unfortunately have not had a chance to get super into this one. Out of the 2 Fire Emblem games I played, this and Conquest, which I no longer own Conquest, this is easily my favorite. A lot of people have started to kind of turn on this game recently, because they kind of contributed to the downfall or the change in Fire Emblem, where it became kind of more anime-esque. I still think this is a really good game. I do want to actually replay this at some point. I think I played this on casual mode, so maybe I will do an actual proper classic run of this game. Yeah, but this game is really good. Easily the best Fire Emblem game I've played on 3DS, not that it has much competition. I do want to check out Echoes, which unfortunately I don't have. I've heard that one's really good. I did play a bit of Three Houses on Switch. Unfortunately, was not a big fan of what I played. I just don't like all the school aspects. I just want the gameplay. I don't want to have to deal with all this other stuff. But this one's great. More simplistic, not too complex. Great entry point for the series, and I can see why it kind of saved the franchise over here in the West. Next up is a game I got on Facebook Marketplace recently. I think I got this in a lot with another 3DS game, which I'll show in a second. I think 2 PS4 games for like $15, so great deal. So I'm surprised the price has gone up so much. I remember this was like a $5, $10 game. I did play the original Fossil Fighters on DS. Thought that was pretty good. Haven't played Champions, and then I've heard this one isn't very good. But I figured for the price, I would check it out still. Cool title to have. Haven't played it yet. But I always thought the Fossil Fighters, at least based on the first one, was a pretty cool franchise. So I want to see like what went wrong with this one, and why this one isn't as well regarded as those other two. And the box art's pretty cool as well there. Next one is another recent pickup. Kind of a weird one for 3DS. But I think it's kind of more like a MOBA style game or a top-down action game. But Heroes of Ruin, have not had a chance to play this one yet either. Just picked it up maybe last week. But as you can see, it'll focus. Oh, it's got 4-player with voice chat. I wonder. Oh, it's online. I wonder if you could still find someone to play this with. Or at least play it like through an emulator or something. That's cool. Yeah, this one looked kind of interesting. It's not too expensive of a title, so I thought I would add it. But I don't have much to say about it yet. I feel like we're going to get to the point that I haven't played a lot of these games. I've been too busy collecting again. Because I've kind of gotten back into collecting over the last couple of years. I haven't really had a chance to play much of these games. But this one, I don't know if I'm missing out too much. I did want to check it out. But hey, Pikmin. I actually haven't played the first 2 Pikmin games, but Pikmin 3 is very good. That was actually the first Wii U game I got outside of Nintendo Land. And yeah, not much to say. I haven't heard great things, but some people defend this game and say it's not that bad. Maybe it'll be a decent little weekend game to play. Just kill 5-10 hours. I don't think it's too long. Looks like it could be interesting. As I said, these later 3DS games I just find fascinating. The ones that came out like after the Switch had come out. I kind of want to get all those games just because they're interesting to me. Man, going through this made me realize I have a lot more games than I thought. I don't even know how many I have total, but it's got to be pretty up there. But next one, got a little bit of damage there, but Kid Icarus Uprising. Great game. I've actually never used the stand for this. I know a lot of people say the stand is like necessary. I never had too much of a problem with the controls when I played it, but I was also younger, so maybe, I don't know, I could just deal with the hand cramps. But very good game. I unfortunately never got super into the online, but this game has a lot of replayability. I definitely want to go through. I think I did go through and get like halfway through the game a couple of years back when I finally started replaying it, but never finished that run, so maybe I should do that. That's a really good game. Probably one of the best and most essential 3DS games, to be honest. Another more recent pickup, which is Kirby Planet Robobot. I've not played this one yet either. Really looking forward to it. A lot of people say this is one of the best Kirby games, and especially one of the best more recent Kirby games. Had heard nothing but great things about this one. I'm not a hardcore Kirby fan. I'm a very, very casual Kirby fan. I don't even know if I consider myself a Kirby fan, but I do enjoy some of the games that I've played. This one I've heard is one of the best, so we'll see if that's true when I get a chance to pop this in. Another Kirby game, Kirby Triple Deluxe. Played this one a few years back, didn't have it when it came out, and I thought it was okay. Nothing too special, just a decent platformer. Nothing too crazy, but if you're a Kirby fan, or just looking for a nice simple platformer to play, it's worth getting. Now we're getting into the Zelda games. This next one I really want to replay. I have not played it since it came out. Fortunately, when I was packing up my 3DS games in a box one day, some of them got a little damaged. But yeah, I love the portrait mechanic. I've actually never played Link to the Past. I actually haven't played too many Zelda games, if I'm honest, maybe only like 4 or 5. But this is up there. I mean, Breath of the Wild, Ocarina of Time, this. I think the only other ones I've played are, I played like a dungeon or 2 in Twilight Princess, like half of Majora's Mask, which I'll get to later. Yeah, but this is a really good one. Now I think about it, this is the only top-down Zelda I've played. But I remember loving this game. And it's just probably one of the best 3DS offerings. Next up is Ocarina of Time. Outside of maybe the first dungeon or 2, I have not played the 64 version despite being a huge 64 fan. This is the way I was kind of properly played through the game. One distinct memory I have with this game is I remember not being able to get to the Shadow Temple. I kept looking up like, how do I get to the Shadow Temple? Because the cutscene, there's like a cutscene with like Sheik, I think when you go to, is it Kakariko, that like triggers, and I can never get it to trigger. And then after, I don't know, putting down the game for a bit and coming back to it, I realized that I had somehow never completed the Fire Temple, so I must have not saved or something, because I remember defeating the boss. But I go back and I look at my menu and it doesn't say I have like the fire medallion or whatever it is. I don't remember what it's called. But so I went back, I beat the boss, and then that was good to go. Yeah, great version of the game. Looks very good. I don't know if it holds up as well as I remember. But it still looks like it looks, yeah, pretty good. Especially for what came out in 2012. Oh, this was a year one title. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, 2011, first year 3DS game. This game still looks very good. My preferred version to play, although as I said, I have not really played a ton of that 64 original. I don't remember how much this was, but this was a garage sale find. I was in like a neighborhood, it was a bunch of older people, and I somehow stumbled across this. I think they had like this, I think it was the same person, this and like a Xbox controller. The Xbox controller was not in the box, but it still had like the styrofoam on it, with a little bag it goes in. It was in great condition, so I ended up getting both those for, I don't think it was too much. This one's still sealed. I don't know if I'm going to keep it. I don't collect sealed games, but I mean, for whatever price I ended up getting it for, it's definitely worth it. Nintendo Select version, but still, cool thing to have. Next one, also a more recent pickup, have not had a chance to play yet, especially because I don't know if I'll be able to find the people to play it. Triforce Heroes. Never played Four Swords either. But this one's pretty decent. Definitely looking forward to give it a try with a couple friends one day. This is the other 3DS game I got with Fossil Fighters from Facebook Marketplace. That is LEGO City Undercover: The Chase Begins, Nintendo Selects. I played a little bit of the Wii U version, and I'm not a big fan if I'm honest. I think by that point, by the time the game came out, I was already kind of sick of the LEGO formula. I know this one kind of spiced it up a little bit. It's more like an open world, GTA-esque game. But I don't know, I could just never really get too into it, so I don't know if this one will change my mind. I don't really hear anything about this game. I think it's supposed to be a prequel, but I don't know. I'm a big 3DS fan and figured for however much it ended up being, that it was worth adding to the collection. And maybe I'll give it a go one day. Play a couple hours of it, see how it is. Next game is another recent pickup I haven't had a chance to play, and that is Luigi's Mansion. Not Dark Moon, just Luigi's Mansion. Very strange title to be on 3DS. At this point, it probably should have been on Switch. I kind of get it because 2 is on 3DS, but then 3 is on Switch, and then 1 is now on 3DS. So maybe they want you to play 1 and 2 on 3DS, and then play 3 on Switch. Honestly, they should have just put it on Switch. But I haven't heard particularly good things about this. I don't think it's a bad version of the game, but it's not a good version of the game. I've actually never played the original Luigi's Mansion, so knowing me, this is going to end up being my first exposure to it. Which, I don't know if that's a good thing. Potentially not. But looking forward to playing this one. Definitely one of the more interesting later 3DS ports. You had Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn and stuff like that too. But just very strange that they decided to put this on 3DS, especially with Luigi's Mansion 3 coming to Switch. At some point, I purged my collection of a bunch of games, not just my 3DS collection, just my collection in general. And one of them I did get rid of was Dark Moon. This was another game I got with Animal Crossing. As I said, I think it was like $10 on clearance. So I have 2 copies of this as well. This one was... I enjoyed Dark Moon overall. Not a massive fan, but I do think it suits itself pretty well for the 3DS, and it is pretty nostalgic for me. I remember getting stuck in areas and having to look a couple of things up because I was stupid and dumb as a kid. But I don't know, decent game. Haven't had a chance to play this one yet either, but I have played its original DS version. Another very fascinating game here. Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr.'s Journey. I love the original DS game. Looking forward to giving this one a try to give me an excuse to finally replay it. I don't think this version is supposed to be really any better than the original. I guess it does have more content. But yeah, very fascinating. I'm just fascinated by all these later 3DS games, which are usually signified by the Nintendo logo, because for whatever reason they decided to add that. I think like starting with like Pokemon Sun and Moon, or was it Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon? But yeah, in like 2017 they started adding that to all their games. But love the original game. I'm sure this will be a pretty fun way to play it and re-experience it. Plays only in 2D, unfortunately, which I'll get to later, but I never really used the 3D mechanic in most games. I would just turn it on, see what it looks like, and then shut it off. But there was a game I played recently, I decided to use it on, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should use the 3D more. But enough with that tangent. Next one I actually did play, and I never played the GBA version, so this is actually the first way I played it. Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, Bowser's Minions. So I'd say this is probably my second favorite of the Mario & Luigi games I've played. I prefer Bowser's Inside Story. I think Partners in Time is probably third. That one's okay. And then Dream Team, I wasn't a big fan of. Another game that just is way too long, and it kept going on forever and ever and ever. I think it was like a 30-40 hour game. Like, it's got to be the longest Mario & Luigi game. There's certain points where it felt like the game should have ended, but it's like, oh, now you got to do this, now you got to do this, and just kept going. But enough about that. This one's I'm not in love with it, but it is definitely a very solid RPG game I very much enjoyed. Never played the Bowser's Minions though. Next up, a 3DS classic, Mario Kart 7. This one, in retrospect, isn't as essential or as good as it was probably when it came out, because I feel like with most of the Mario Kart games, they all kind of have their own identity. Like Double Dash is the 2 characters, 64 was the first 3D one, Super Mario Kart was just the first one, Super Circuit was the first handheld one, Mario Kart DS had the retro tracks, Mario Kart Wii had the motion controls and that great cast of characters. This one just kind of got expanded upon in 8. Still do like this one, but it's definitely not up there. If I'm going back and saying, hey, I'm going to go play an old Mario Kart game that's not 8 Deluxe, I'm probably going to be playing like Double Dash or maybe even 64 before I'd play this one. But still a great game. If you have a 3DS, it's still worth picking up even if you have Mario Kart 8, because it is so cheap and it's still a great game. This one recently came to the Switch. Another more recent pickup, Miitopia. Not had a chance to play this one. If I play it, I'll probably end up just playing it on Switch because it has expanded mechanics. But been interested in this one as well. Another one of those later 3DS games. Looks like it could be fun. We'll see. It could just be one of those games that's kind of overstays its welcome, because it is an RPG and it kind of has that Tomodachi-like thing where it's kind of like the appeal is just inserting whatever character you want. So we'll see how that goes as an RPG, as I said. I might just test it out here, and then maybe if I like it enough, I'll pick up the Switch version. GameStop, I don't remember, was it a couple of years ago, had like a buy 4 games for $10 or less and get them for $20 or something like that. And I bought a ton of PS4 games, actually before I even owned a PS4, because I'm like, well, these games are so cheap, I might as well start getting into PS4 collecting now versus later when some of these games start to go up in price. But when I'm talking about PS4 games, this is one that I got from there, so this was technically only $5. So I think this one is a decent the priced game. I've never really watched One Piece, but this game actually came with the box. It is a little gross in some spots. You see it's got looks like soda or something spilled right there. I don't know anything about this game. Like, is this really explore all the One Piece world? So is this new original story? So I don't even really know what type of game this is, to be honest. But a complete 3DS game for $5. And yeah, could be a good game, could be a bad game. I'll give it a try at one point. Here we got another very, very late 3DS game. I think this one might have been, was it 2018 or 2019? This one was like one of the last big 3DS games, and that is Persona Q2. Never played the first one. I've actually never really played a Persona game. I just wanted to add this one to the collection because I was worried about it going up in price, and it is one I'm interested in playing. I know there was a weird issue with like the first game where the cartridge just like started dying or something, but yeah, I don't really have much to say. It does not come with the pin set, whatever. I know this game like originally came with like a pin set or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. Cool game to have. Haven't played it. I feel like I haven't played a lot of these games. That's because I've really been getting into the 3DS even more over the last couple of years and just don't have a chance to pop in all these games, especially these like 50, however many hour long RPGs. Next one, another recent pickup that I haven't had a chance to play, but really looking forward to this one, is Pilotwings Resort, a launch title for the system. Never played a Pilotwings game. A lot of people have kind of sung this game's praises over the last couple of years, so hoping that I'll have a good time with this one. It's a very short game. I think it's kind of a tech demo-y type game, but a lot of people really seem to like this one. Have a lot of fond memories of it, so really looking forward to this one. Don't have too much to say though. Alright, now we're going to move into the Pokemon games. So, back in, I think, like maybe 2018, I decided to buy every main series game. So, I currently own every main series Pokemon game except for the Switch versions, which I have one version of each. So, like, I have Shield but not Sword, etc. So, we'll start with Pokemon X, which was the version I originally played. And then I also got Pokemon Y. So the hype for this game at the time was crazy. First 3D Pokemon game, Mega Evolution. I loved the way the hype cycle worked. Like you had like the Coral magazine where you'd have like the new Pokemon shown, the new Mega Evolution shown. Followed so many YouTubers at the time that were talking about Pokemon news. Easily the most hype Pokemon game for me. I enjoyed it at the time, and unfortunately, it honestly hasn't held up that well for me. I went back and replayed it a couple of years ago, and while the mechanics are cool, just like as a game, as like a story, exploring the world, which I will say that Kalos is a pretty solid region, but it's just not that memorable outside of maybe the Pokedex and the Pokemon that are in the game. But, I mean, not bad games, just very lackluster Pokemon games. Going back. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Omega Ruby was the one I originally played. Another one I replayed a couple years ago. They're okay. I wish we would have had the content from Emerald, because Platinum is probably my favorite Pokemon game, that or Black and White 2. So, because Platinum really just expanded upon everything, and so did Emerald. I feel like Platinum to a more so degree, but the content from Emerald really should have been included, like the Battle Frontier and all that. I do have some nostalgia for these games as well, just like if I look at the back covers, just like being able to see those primal forms and stuff like that. Or just the Mega Evolutions, or like Sceptile and Swampert there. But yeah, I never really messed with the secret base stuff. This was kind of when I started I guess X and Y, but Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire is when I kind of like started to get more into breeding and stuff like that, which I still never really play competitive. Usually I'll like end up making a team and then kind of giving up at that point. But yeah, once again, with like X and Y, they're not bad games, but they're not good games really particularly either. But I will say that they're probably better. They're not the worst 3DS Pokemon games. I can at least say that. Next up is Pokemon Sun, which is the one I originally played, and Pokemon Moon. Really enjoyed it at the time. When I originally played it, despite them being the first games of their generation, I probably would have considered Sun and Moon my third favorite Pokemon generation after Gen 4 and Gen 5. But replaying them a couple years ago when I went through and replayed a bunch of Pokemon games, once again, they just don't do it for me. I just don't think anything from this 3D era, while they aren't like particularly bad games, they just don't really do much for me. I did like that changed it up a little bit, but at the end of the day, the gyms are just more iconic. I feel like it's more fun most of the time. I feel like games like Sword and Shield made the gym battles feel really alive, even if those games weren't great either. But going from island to island was cool, but the linear routes and all that were just boring, bland. Getting from point A to point B, I don't know. Once again, alright games, which the next one might be a hot take, but Ultra Sun, which is the one I originally played in the Ultra Moon. I like these games more than Sun and Moon, mainly for the fact that I think the Pokedex and the Pokemon selection is much more interesting. There's a lot of cool things you can use. It kind of reminds me of a Black and White 2, where you can get like cool Pokemon. Like a Black and White 2, you get Riolu, and like I think Ultra and Ultra you can get like a Zora pretty early. So it was fun to make a team. And Ultra Necrozma, I had a super tough time with that, and I don't think it's because it was like particularly hard. I just think my team was not equipped to deal with it. I remember getting one shot by like everything because I didn't have like any good type advantages against it. But obviously, if you know what you're doing, I'm sure it's a very easy fight. I just distinctly remember struggling with that for like I think a couple hours because I ended up having to grind, which I thought was interesting because I never had to do that in a Pokemon game. But next up, I have not played this version, but I did play the Wii U version, Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World. Another interesting 3DS game. I'm going to keep saying it, but these late 2017, 2018 releases I find so fascinating. I don't know why. I kind of just want to get them all. So I didn't play this when it came out. It might have been more impressive if I would have played it when it came out, but it's actually the only version of Rayman 2 I've played, which is Rayman 3D. So I'm not sure to judge it as a game. I mean, as a game, I thought that it was okay. I'm sure I would like the other versions of Rayman 2, like the Dreamcast version, the 64 version, maybe even the PS2 version more. But I had a decent time with this. It's interesting to play one of these earlier 3DS games. I don't know why they keep remaking Rayman 2, because there's also the Rayman DS, which is also Rayman 2, and I know there's other versions of it as well. Yeah, this was a fun one. Not great, but pretty decent 3D platformer for the 3DS. As I said, I'm not sure how it compares to the other versions. Along with that One Piece game, this is another 3DS game I got from GameStop, so this ended up being $5 after that deal. Have not played it. I just think it's really interesting. I don't know if I would play it. If I'm gonna use RPG Maker, I'm probably better off just using it on PC. But I thought this was a very interesting release, so I thought I would add it to the collection for that price. We're getting near the end here, but the next one we got is Star Fox 64 3D. Just like Ocarina of Time, despite being a huge N64 fan, I've never beaten that original version, but I did beat this one. I did all the levels, all the paths, and this is a great version of it that people don't talk about as much today as I feel like they did when it came out. Great version of the game. I would say it's pretty comparable to that original. As I said, I haven't fully played that original, but I know there's some multiplayer stuff that I never messed with and stuff like that. 64 is really the only Star Fox game I've played. I am interested in trying some of the others, like particularly Adventures, which I know a lot of people are not big fans of because I love Rare, and just that's pretty much their only GameCube title, I think. But yeah, Star Fox 64, it's a classic. It's great on 3DS, just like it is on the 64. Next one we got here is Super Mario 3D Land, along with Mario Kart 7. This was the first game that I got for the system. I got both those I think for Christmas in 2011. I got Mario Kart 7, Mario 3D Land, and the Aqua Blue 3DS I mentioned earlier. This game is great. I honestly might prefer it over 3D World. Well, maybe not. I would have said that, but the Switch version where it's sped up, I think that version is great. But I still might prefer this one as a single player experience. Obviously 3D World has that multiplayer, which might put it an edge above, but I don't know, I think this game's kind of underrated in terms of Mario games. Really fun. Really easy though. It doesn't even get even remotely challenging until you unlock those bonus levels. But this is a great game to 100% complete. One of the few, if not the only, 3DS game I've probably 100%ed. But yeah, definitely a must-have for the 3DS. Next one, I think I just got this game very recently as well too, like the last week or so. Tales of the Abyss. I always wanted this one. There's so many RPGs for the system that I wanted, but I just couldn't afford to buy them back in the day. Like I always wanted to get into Etrian Odyssey, or I always wanted to play Radiant Historia, which is a later one, or SMT. I want to play SMT4, but it's never ended up getting those games. Now they're getting more expensive. I do have a couple of them digitally because they had some last-minute eShop sales like a year ago. They discounted a bunch of those games. I think I have Etrian Odyssey 4 and like SMT4 digitally. But I got this one physically. As far as I know, this is a pretty good port. I've never played really any Tales game. I think I've played a bit of Berseria on PC. Only like a couple hours just because I wanted to check it out. Yeah, I always want to play this one. Really looking forward to checking it out. From what I know, this is a pretty good version of the game. Next one, another more recent addition, Tomodachi Life. I've not played this one. Always looked like a fun time. I feel like it could work really well on Switch. I remember when that demo came out, playing that quite a bit, and I enjoyed that. Some people have their criticisms of this game, saying it kind of overstays its welcome, that you can get burnt out pretty quick. But this game always looked like a blast. Looking forward to playing it. Definitely a good game to like stream maybe, or just kind of play with friends watching, because a lot of the appeal is adding all these custom characters into the game and seeing what kind of goofy things they might do. Next one is a really good one here. I'm a huge WarioWare fan. I think I've played most of them. I know I haven't played the GameCube one because I haven't gotten the people together to play it. But great compilation. Has the regular touch controls, the touchscreen controls, the twist controls, the microphone controls. Got a bunch. It's more of like a compilation. There are some original micro games, but a lot of them are from older games. Over 300 here. Probably if you're only gonna play one WarioWare game, they're like the first one, or maybe even Smooth Moves are probably your best options. This one kind of takes a lot of the best and puts it all in one package. It's relatively accessible because it's a newer release. Yeah, definitely want to put some more time to this one. WarioWare is always a blast. And really cool that this came out. I remember originally I didn't end up buying it at 2018. I didn't buy it when it came out, but I think when Get Together came out for Switch, I went on a huge WarioWare kick and like played most of the games. And that's when I got this one. So, great game there. Alright, the next one is another sealed game. I think I got this for like $5 years ago on clearance, which is starting to go up in price. And the whole franchise is, because I guess it's getting more popular, especially with 3DS collecting and Yokai Watch 3 being an insanely expensive game, and some of those Yokai Watch Blaster games being insanely expensive. I think there's some others too. I think we'll get into that when I show the next one, but Yokai Watch still sealed at this point. I don't know if I should just buy an open copy and sell this one, or if I should just open it. But I've always been interested in this series. A lot of people have been singing its praises more recently. I think this is supposed to be like the weakest of the bunch. Like 2 and especially 3, I've heard are very good. But yeah, definitely want to start with the first one. Fortunately, haven't played it. The next one up, Yokai Watch 2. There are 3 versions of this game. I think it's Fleshy Souls is the like sister version, which would be like the Pokemon Y, and then there's this one, and then there's Psychic Specters, which is like the 3rd version, which I think is pretty expensive. Got this one pre-owned. It doesn't have that metal. Once again, haven't played this. But I think shortly after I bought this one went up in price as well, which is fascinating. The whole series is, as I said, kind of exploding right now. A lot of people are really realizing that this is a pretty good franchise, which I'm hoping that's true, because definitely want to try it out. Another level 5 game. Yeah, Yokai Watch. Glad to have it. And the last game, at least the last game I have complete, is Yoshi's New Island. Another recent one I got for pretty cheap. I played it, and I always made fun of the music even before I got the game, just because I'd heard the soundtrack. Soundtrack's bad, but thankfully most of the levels just use like a basic like level theme, which isn't too awful. It's just very repetitive. Like the Yoshi's Clan song, just look that up. It's awful. The cave music, awful. Not a great game. Probably a bad game. Wouldn't really recommend unless you just really want a another Yoshi platformer. And with having played this, I think it's very funny that I think I've played like every 2D Yoshi game, at least like the traditional platformers besides the original Yoshi's Island. Like I played the DS Yoshi's Island, I've played Whirly World, I've played Crafted World, I've played Story, and I've played this one. So I just think it's funny that the one that people actually seem to like for the most part. I know people like Woolly World and stuff like that, but the one that people actually love, I have not played, but I've played all the ones that people don't like. Alright, next up I got a couple loose games here. The next 3 I show you were also from that GameStop deal. Unfortunately, didn't come with cases. Granted, I wasn't expecting them to. As you can see with this next one, I really kind of went out of control when buying a bunch of these games from GameStop, because I don't know why I bought this, but Putty Squad. I'm probably selling this. I'm probably never going to play this. Why did I buy it? I don't know. And I dropped it. Resident Evil, The Mercenaries 3D. Never really... I played a little bit of Resident Evil 4. That's really the only Resident Evil I've ever played. Don't know much about this one. And then Mario Tennis Open. Also haven't played this one. I'll probably try and complete this game. I'm probably trying to complete Resident Evil 2 as well. But I don't know. It's Mario Tennis. I'm sure it'll be fine. And then the last one I got here, I think I got this at a garage sale for super cheap. I used to have it, but sold it because I'm like, well, Smash Ultimate kind of outclasses Smash 4 in every way. I know this has Smash Run, which people love, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have much to say. It's Smash Bros. On 3DS. It was fun when it came out because it came out before the Wii U version, but as soon as the Wii U version came out, it's kind of like, well, why play the 3DS version? So with that being said, there's the whole collection there. I guess this is like 40 or 50 games, a lot more than I thought. A lot of these loose ones, I'm going to either try to complete them or I'm probably going to sell them. And then, yeah, that's all I got. As I said, I do have a couple digital games. Some virtual console stuff like Pokemon Crystal, but pretty much all the games I bought physically. So I don't think there's really a point showing my digital collection. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. The video was kind of rambly and probably not the most entertaining video, but I just really wanted to make it because I felt like making a video. And why not show off my collection? So you guys have a good one, and I'll see you in the whatever I end up making next.